Good morning, dear sister in Christ. My name is Pat Domain, founder of On Fire Ministries, Bible study author, and teacher. 3 years ago, I went through a business course to help me transition my ministry from a fully in-person ministry to an online ministry. And there was so much new and unknown for me. Technology challenges, planning, prioritizing, budgeting challenges. And most of the time, I was so far out of my comfort zone, I felt like I was on another planet. So if you ask me how I felt during that business course, overwhelmed would be the best all-encompassing term to describe my mental state during those 4 months. The funny thing is, the teacher continually said to me, "You are not overwhelmed." Well, I am so sorry, dear teacher, but no matter how many times you tell me I am not overwhelmed, doesn't change the fact that I am overwhelmed. And that was what I would say on the inside every time she tried to make me believe that my feelings weren't real and that I wasn't overwhelmed. Ironically, I asked for this. So let me restate that. I paid a bunch of money for this. We women often set ourselves up. Hey, Theresa, how are you? We often set ourselves up for overwhelmed. How many times have we said yes to something when we know the moment yes passes through our lips that our schedule is already too full? I think the problem often comes from a genuine desire to be a good Christian woman. And we should want to be a good Christian woman. But saying yes to every opportunity or need presented to us is not always the best thing. So let me share some wise words spoken to me many years ago from a wonderful interim pastor and professor of hermeneutics, Bob Utley. He used to call me sister teacher, which always made me smile because I had so much respect for him. I want to encourage you to take his words that were spoken to me years ago as words spoken to you today personally. And here's what he would say: no is a spiritual answer. So let me ask you, are you feeling overwhelmed with life? Many times we wear an identity label that someone else placed on us. Maybe a parent has spoke something over our life, and decades later, we're still wearing that label. And then some of us have experienced a major event in life, maybe good or bad, and we identify ourselves based on that event. And many times people also identify us based on a background, our family, or some other factor that we really had nothing to do with. But feeling overwhelmed is different. Because of the choices that we make, we actually choose to wear that overwhelmed label. Maybe not directly, but indirectly, because our choices overload our lives. So please understand that I am not saying this to bring condemnation, but awareness. Awareness brings with it the potential to change. When we don't see things for what they are, we usually have no reason or even any motivation to change things. So I want to give you a quick evaluation to determine what level of overwhelm that you're experiencing. So which of the following 4 categories do you find you most identify with? Number 1, you don't ever feel overwhelmed with life. Number 2, feeling overwhelmed with life is not your problem, but only in certain circumstances. Number 3, feeling overwhelmed with life is not your problem, just around certain people. And then number 4, feeling overwhelmed with life is your life. So which category do you best fit in? Now I want to give you some practical steps of how to allow God to transform what needs to be transformed. So let's go to that first category. You don't ever feel overwhelmed with life. Well, that is congratulations. You are not trying to be Superwoman, and that overwhelmed label just does not fit you. You've learned how to manage your life situations, circumstances, people, roles. And I encourage you to keep it up and to encourage others who feel overwhelmed. You clearly have a gift to share in how you live free and clear of overwhelm. Isaiah 50 verse 4 says that the Lord has given me the tongue of disciples that I may know how to sustain the weary with the word. He awakens me morning by morning. He awakens my ear to hear and to listen as a disciple. So in other words, take the gift that you have been given and share it with those you know or you meet who are feeling overwhelmed. Your encouragement and guidance may be the very thing that someone else needs. Now, number 2, the second category, feeling overwhelmed with life is not your problem, just in certain circumstances. So if you identify the cause of your feeling overwhelmed, you have that very first step in making positive changes behind you. If not, take a few minutes to pray and to think through when you feel overwhelmed. Ask God to reveal the true root or source of these consuming feelings. A practical exercise is to keep a notepad with you, or maybe you use a notepad in your electronic device, your cell phone, your iPad, whatever it is that you keep with you all the time. And every time that you feel overwhelmed, write down what is happening. Not only will this help you identify the root of that feeling, it can help you step away from that feeling. And when we step away, then we have that opportunity to refocus and focus on Jesus and let Him take our burdens. So do this practical exercise for at least 1 week to see some consistencies, and then take those consistencies to God and ask Him to help you make the appropriate adjustments to relieve excessive pressures from your life. Always ask Him to do abundantly more than we can ask or think, according to the power that works in us. Number 3 category, third category, feeling overwhelmed with life is not your life, just around certain people. Now, if you are only feeling overwhelmed when you're around certain people, you probably don't need to go through a process of identifying them. They are probably pretty prominent on your radar. Somehow, people who overwhelm us stick out like a sore thumb in our mind, and that's a good thing because you already have that first step behind you. For you, the question may be, does this person have to be a part of my life? And if the person is in your immediate family, well, you know the answer to that question is yes. So as much as you may not want to hear this, I need to speak something to you. This one rests on you, not them. You know, sometimes God allows us to face difficult people to grow us in our character and to teach us. Maybe God is using that person to expose something in you that needs to be changed. And I only say this because I have been here so many times. I've faced this so many times. So use these 2 verses that I'm going to give you I want to ask you to replace the generic terms in these verses I'm going to give you. Hebrews 12:14, the generic terms I want you to replace are all people. And Romans 12:18, the generic term to replace is all men. And I want you to put the names of the people who make you feel overwhelmed into those verses. So Hebrews 12:14 says, pursue peace with all people. There's your phrase that you're going to take that out and you're going to put the name of someone who causes you to feel overwhelmed. I'll just use my name. Pursue peace with Pat and holiness without which no one will see the Lord. Romans 12:18. If it is possible, as much as it depends on you, live peaceably with all men. So for me, Romans 12:18, if I'm going to personalize it, if it is possible, as much as it depends on you, live peaceably with, and I'm going to fill in that blank with whoever I struggle with feeling overwhelmed around. So if we ask God in the midst of feeling frustration and overwhelm what He wants us to learn, He will be faithful to show us. Our maturity to ask and to accept what He shows us honors God. He delights in growing us in our ability to handle those difficult people. And the reality is, He may not change them, but He will definitely change you and your ability to find peace in life with them. Another thing that I have learned over the years. Number 4, feeling overwhelmed with life is your life. Now, if this is your story, you are probably wearing the Superwoman label and trying to be everything to everybody. You're probably a perfectionist and possibly a procrastinator. Now, a lot of times we think that those two really don't seem to go together. They seem to go against one another. But in reality, they fit quite well together with an overwhelmed Superwoman who doesn't want to fail. So she procrastinates rather than take that chance at failure until she's at the point of panic and overwhelm. So what is the problem? Your unrealistic expectation of yourself. You are not God. God is God. You're not meant to be able to do everything and be successful at everything. However, God did create you to be successful at some things. Ephesians 2:10 says, "For we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared beforehand that we should walk in them." So we're created for something to be successful at, but that doesn't mean everything. So here's my encouragement for you today. Seek God to find your specific area, uniqueness, uniqueness of calling, of giftedness, and ask him to keep you focused and to focus your time and your energy on what matters most, on what is best, what is God's best and God's will for your life, not just what is good. Also, I want to give you a recommendation. It's a book that's been around for a while, but I had to read it in seminary. It was very helpful to me, and it's the book called Boundaries by Henry Cloud. It's a great tool for anyone who feels overwhelmed with life, with certain circumstances or with certain people. And then also the Boundaries book website has a lot of great free boundaries type resources. So check those out. And if you use any of those and find those beneficial, I'd love to hear from you about what you found beneficial in those. Now, before I say goodbye, I want to invite you to join me on my ministry Facebook page and to get daily morning prayers and biblical encouragement for Christian women. And don't forget to watch my On Fire Ministries Bible Study Devotion via Facebook Live, what you're watching right now, every Tuesday morning at 8:30 Central Time. And please, please share this Bible study devotion with others that someone else can be encouraged today. And until we meet again, have a blessed and beautiful day.